And we're good.
All right, everybody. Congrats on making it this far through the week. We're almost to Friday, but welcome to a Thursday edition of the Fourth and One podcast with Rusi and Coach Trey. Yours truly. A couple of different things that we're going to do today, guys, that we are actually going to break down a little bit more of college football as a whole. We do have a couple of bets in here today. In fact, I've got one that's really, really juicy that I really can't wait to get into with you guys. But I think as far as, you know, college football as a whole is concerned, look, a lot of people are going to maybe look into, um, they're gonna try to read the tea leaves and understand what they're doing. But I think they're going to go a different way. Russo is going to say if he agrees. But as far as everything's going on, Russo, how you feeling today, bro?
Feeling good. I did promise y'all Jake Paul by decision last week. I did promise y'all that. So I hope everyone tailed that bet, got you free plus 300. And no, we're doing well, man. We are almost to Friday, and it's going to be a good weekend. So we are here.
Bet. Well, look, then I won't waste any time. Then I want to get started. I will also say that Russo did, in fact, about a week before we came on the stream, say something about Jake Paul by decision. And the odds are actually kind of crazy. I know obviously this is a college football stream, we're not about boxing, but we obviously are here for for the college football bets. But as far as when we see something good and juicy, we have to make it happen. So look, straight out of the cannon, let's get started. The Pac-12. The Pac-12 has vastly and quickly become the Pac-2 here in the last week. I'm not exactly sure how many of you thought this was going to transpire, but pretty much whenever commissioner came to the podium and said, we're the strongest we've been, I'm confident in where we are, everybody else pretty much got their coffee and dipped out of the back of the room. Like there was absolutely no way in hell that they were going to allow them to stand, not whenever you've already got, both two of the California schools that are going to head to the Big Ten's way in just next year. So I do want to get your thoughts on this first, because I do have a couple of my own, juncture points, but I want to get your raw reaction to that because we did not discuss this before coming on camera.
I'm sorry, I was changing my light because I did come off a little like you couldn't see me there, so I didn't catch the latter half of that. So break me down again. What am I going
so,
through?
The Pac-12 as it stands,
Pac-12.
Obviously, they got rid of everybody. It's basically the Pac-2. So
Yeah,
as far as
the Pac-2.
where you thought it was going and where it is now, like what are your thoughts on the whole thing? Where everybody's maybe projecting to go? What do you think?
I think we all kind of, we all kind of thought the Pac-12 was the odd conference out, them and the ACC. I think we knew that both of those conferences were going to probably dissolve into the SEC, the Big 12, or the Big 10. So it's not shocking. I don't know why people are acting so shocked. However, it is what it is. I mean, I think we kind of saw this whole thing coming a couple of years ago when Texas and Oklahoma made the jump to the SEC. So it's not shocking at all. I don't know why people are acting so dramatic about it. It is what it is. I think it's a good opportunity for some of these smaller schools to maybe take over a conference that's still available in the Pac-12 or the ACC. Maybe it's a chance for them to make a name for themselves and be considered in an elite conference. So I think it opens the door for the smaller college. I think it's a dub for those colleges, and some of the bigger colleges in that conference are probably a little pissed off unless you're, going to find somewhere to go. So it kind of just depends on who you are.
Honestly, I don't really disagree. And I think that the pushback is primarily because everybody kind of has an idea of geographically where they think people should go, and that is 100% going to have to be thrown by the wayside. Like you're going to basically in the next 400 days have to be okay with seeing Rutgers and UCLA play a conference game. Like I think, and if you can just get away for a second, the fact that that's okay, as long as parity is included, because you know me, dude, all I care about is parity. You and I obviously have our favorite teams, but all I care about is parity. The little games do matter. And when I say the little games, what I don't mean a little school or to for lack of a better term, to minimize the importance of a game. But for example, the Iron Bowl is going to get more viewership than pick your rivalry, the Egg Bowl. I know that's obviously in the same conference, but you understand what I'm saying. Do you, for any reason, this is just a yes or no question, do you, for any reason, no matter what the wins or losses are, do you think that a 9-3 finishing Ole Miss and a 6-6 Mississippi State playing at the end of the year to decide those schedules, do you think that Egg Bowl means any more or less to the people that are watching?
If you're in the state of Mississippi, it probably matters more. Outside of that, probably not. No.
Correct. So and that's my dog, Kev Smith. Appreciate that, Kev. The answer is no. The Egg Bowl 2 years ago, people are in the Egg. It's two subpar teams, and people are crying. Touchdowns are getting scored, 2-point conversions are going for it. People are crying. Like if you wanted to watch the Battle at Bedlam, like people, it doesn't matter how big the team is, people are still going to be involved in that. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, and for lack of trying to go full circle with this, is that the games are still going to matter to the people that want to watch the game and consume the information and consume the football. Obviously, you and I, being in Central Time Zone, are probably not going to be able to stay up and watch all Pac-12 after dark. We're going to have to, put some of them on TiVo and watch the replay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's how it is. And so for people to push back against that, against more parity and more competitive college football, literally just blows my mind. And so the last thing I wanted to get to that with, because I think it kind of pivots us into my next point. What are your thoughts on the metric of getting college football to, in essence, a Sunday show game in which you, in essence, are going to 40 or 50 Power 5 teams and competing for the national championship, and then you have pretty much everybody else competing for a separate goal? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, to me, and I had this thought earlier. I was like, what's one of the biggest spectacles in college sports, just historically? It's March Madness, right? I mean,
yeah.
Why aren't we going towards something like that? Why aren't we giving a parity-like tournament and giving 64 teams, for instance, a chance? There's ways to do it. It's just, it won't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. But I think we would get a lot more excited about postseason, because like the postseason in college basketball is 10 out of 10. Everyone watches, no matter who's in there. There's always a Cinderella story. We don't have that in football, and that's fine for the hardcore football fans. But someone like me, who, and you said it yourself, love parity, why don't we do a top 32? Bring some of the smaller colleges in that win their conference. Make winning your conference matter. I think there's ways to do it. Obviously, you can't do it in every 2 days like college basketball, but you could definitely make it work where it's not just the best 8 teams. Get a group of 32 teams, cut it in half from the basketball field, and try and get some more parity involved, get some more eyes, get some more interest on the postseason aspect of college football. I think the rivalry games are probably what's carrying it the most right now. I mean, you have those games. You'll have instances where a top 5 team or 2 top 5 teams are playing. So conference alignment, it is what it is. How that aligns up, I think you fix that by adding more teams to the postseason. Because now we're just going to always have an argument every time we expand by 2 teams in the playoffs. Oh, well, the SEC is the number 1 conference. They have the best teams compared to maybe the Big Ten now since the merger. So you just eliminate all the arguments and add more teams and make it a March Madness-like tournament. That's how I think it should be, and it eliminates all of the bullshit that comes with the criticism of merging conferences. So that's my opinion, at least.
Sure, and look, and basically, every sport that we watch is decided by a tournament. Like literally every single one, back to Roman times. Like I just can't grasp why people don't want more of that. I understand that people are very hard to modernize and conform to new things when they're so used to a certain way, but do you at all think that it's worse that when we get, in the wintertime, do we get worse viewership whenever you're watching Georgia and Ohio State go 30 and 30 and 40 and 40, while obviously on the other end of the spectrum, you got, TCU kind of getting legend.
Yeah.
Like I get it, but instead of just deciding on the two and then everybody complains, you get four decided. What about 8? What about 12? What about 16? At some point, the teams that don't deserve to be there are going to get weeded out anyway. But who are we to decide that these kids don't get to have more important college football games? Like
Right.
so we sign them up for the Gator Bowl, where the only people watching are for them, and maybe the people that are bored on Sunday and just want to eat and drink coffee and watch football on that Sunday after Christmas. Like, come on! I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick.
I get it, man. And like I said, I thought about this all day. It's like, what if though we don't like? Sure. What if Alabama's the number 1 seed and they go up against the 32 seed, like insert mid-tier school here, like Fresno State? I mean, like, sure, 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be a beatdown, but we are going to get an upset somewhere.
Yep.
And that's the most exciting. That's what's exciting about, the March Madness tournament.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like, there's always one now. There's always several upsets now. I know it's a different sport and we're talking about, more players affecting the game of who wins, but still, I think we need to get more to that postseason aspect, because right now it's just staling out. I mean, sure, in 2019 when we had with Joe Burrow, the LSU team, the Alabama team, the Clemson team, those were NFL, like all of those teams were filled with NFL talent and was fun games to watch. That's like an argument where I can be against what I'm preaching now is, okay, let's let the best 4 teams play, because they're truly the best 4 teams. But Georgia last year, like the season last year, they were just a really good team, and it was kind of boring to watch. If I'm not trying to, am I wrong? Like, it was kind of a boring. They beat the shit out of both teams they played. It is what and they beat the shit out of LSU in the conference game. But like, their Stetson Bennett was their quarterback, Brock Bowers is their tight end. Outside of that, I mean, there's no one really exciting on their team, and Stetson Bennett got drafted late in the draft. Bowers is still there. It's just, to me, it was just it was a big letdown, and I really want to spice it up. And I hope we're never going to get there. It probably by the time I die, we'll get there. But I agree with you. I think we need to spice it up.
And but to that point, if it was a letdown, like everybody thought that TCU was the Princess Cinderella team. Everybody wanted to see them the team that didn't think anybody could make that kind of run. They were the team of runs. And you ended up getting a letdown and a beat down in the national championship. We still watched, we still bet on it, but wouldn't you prefer, to my point, that game get played out a week before?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you prefer them not have to feel so stressed to put TCU at number 3, and instead, because of strength of schedule, rank them at, say, 7, and then 7 plays 10? Like, you'll mitigate who's supposed to be there,
of course,
just like you do in the Sunday game. So, but anyway, but we've made the point, and I'm fully with you. Like, I think, but there is a cap, though. I think if I were to disagree with your point only a little bit, I would say that there is a top-heavy balance now. But I think that strategically changes the way teams will schedule themselves and put them in places to be successful later on during the season. But because of that, you will see 3 and 4 loss teams that maybe came on late be able to compete. And so,
you know how to fix that, though? Go back to the fucking BCS, dude, or something like that.
That's not happening.
But to me, we're getting what, 16 guys in the room that are all a part, or in some fashion a part of these teams. I just don't support that whole narrative. I'd rather a computer plug in the stats, you plug in your metrics, and you find the best teams. I don't give a fuck. I'd rather it happen that way. If I had the 2 choices, I'd rather that than we get 16 potentially biased guys in the room and making a decision like they have been the last couple of years. I'm just not a huge fan of that.
Sure. And look, and because we've talked about this to this point, I honestly think that I'm using this to kind of crutch my bets in a way. And I'm going to explain what I mean here in just a second, which is going to lead me to my first, Coach Trey lock of the year. I didn't want to do this because I really and truthfully thought that I would get away from using strength of schedule in the preseason to fully predict what I think will happen with the team, because I do always say that the teams do get better in the offseason. Like I do say that, like we don't call it that, but to quote my boy Josh Pate, I think I'm kind of just playing a gut feeling here because I've been beamed by this conference and bowl games that I'm almost jaded a little bit. I will say that, but this is going to be my first under and my first season total lock. I'm going to go Rutgers under the 4.5, and I'm going to tell you why. It's -125 right now. I know a lot of people in here may not necessarily have scoured the Rutgers schedule, but it's okay because Coach Trey did for you. They open up against Northwestern. A lot of things going on in Northwestern right now, so I can completely hear you out to make the case they make that game competitive. However, Northwestern has out recruited them for several years now, and I really don't think that one's going to be something that you need to think too hard about. They followed up with Temple. Okay, I get you. And they go to Virginia Tech. Actually, they have Virginia Tech at home. They go to Michigan. Yikes. They get Wagner. They go to Wisconsin. They play Michigan State. They go to Indy. That game's going to suck on the road. They get Ohio State at home, as if that matters. Then they have a barn burner at Iowa. Then they get Penn State, who I think is an absolute giantly slept-on team this year, and they have the best running back in the nation. And then they finish the year with Maryland. Now, listen, I'm not here to tell you that I've spent my entire bank account on putting my money on a Rutgers win total, because I'm not from Jersey. I am not from New York. I'm not from the Northeast, but I do know a little bit about handicapping these kind of games based on, talent and a couple of different, metrics that you look at as far as the Power 5 metrics are concerned. So I'm going to go under 4.5 with Rutgers, and I'm going to lock that in, and I'm going to be playing that tonight.
No, yeah. Just out of a brief look at the schedule, I think I agree.
It's tough.
They've got a bunch of 50-50 games, and then a bunch of just no shot games. So I think I agree with that. I'll have to look deeper into that one.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had two more. I had only brought one with me today, so I'll let you go on to your next point. I know you had two more teams that you were really excited about. So let's go into Washington, maybe.
Yeah, baby. Look, and by the way, to finish off the Rutgers point, FanDuel has already moved on that. The number's at 3.5 on FanDuel. So please, if you're going to make this bet, go to DK. DK, sponsor your boys. Come on, talk to us. Nice. DMs are open. I'm going to go into my second one, guys. Look, I thought long and hard about this. I'm not going to go as far as to say that UW was the best team in the Pac-12 last year, but because of a very weird, odd tie-breaking scenario, they did miss out on the final game of the year last year to compete for the championship. But I think you can make a case that UW has every bit of reason why they should win this year. Look, you want to start with Michael Penix, or do you want me to start with Michael Penix? Because if you can lead the nation in anything in the Power 5 and pass the eyeball test at the same time, most of the time you're going to get some hype from some people, and the first people to get that hype is going to be Vegas. Vegas is hammering on the Michael Penix train right now. His rushing stats, his passing stats, his touchdown stats, his overs, everything about him is screaming it. And I usually fade that, but I'm not this year. The reason for that is I'm actually going to lock in my first over for the year. I know that this is going to be it's not that shocking. It's not really that much of a pick 'em, but I'm going to take plus 116 right here. Okay, let me tell you why. So they're going to start with Boise State. Not easy. I think Boise State can win their conference. We won't get into that today.
What's the number on
9.5?
9.5. Okay, so over 9.5.
So I'm going to go over 9.5. They're going to be favored in that at minimum, if everything goes to what I'm looking at minimum 10 of these games, maximum probably 11. They're going to start their season with Boise State. Not easy, but they will win. They get Tulsa. Next, they go to Michigan State. I like them in that game. They get Cal at home. I like that game. They're going to Arizona. I like them there. The important thing is that they get Oregon at UW. Okay, make the case for Oregon to win the game. I fully understand it. You and I both know how we feel about Oregon this year. You get Arizona State at home. You go to Stanford. You go to USC. They will not be favored at USC. That will not happen. They will get Utah at home. And I think the second hardest game on the schedule, you can make a case, is going to be in Corvallis at Oregon State, dog. Look, I know you're not a DJU fan, but Oregon State is not easy. They're not easy. That's a weird place to play.
They aren't fucking losing that game to DJ Ukulele.
Shout out to my high school soccer coach, Coach Colleen. All love to you, head coach at Wisconsin right now for the girls. I'm just telling you, it's not an easy game, and they get Wazoo at home, and obviously leading into
DJ Ukulele is not beating this team.
I'm just saying it's not easy. I didn't tell you that they were going to lose. I'm just saying it's not easy. The number is plus 116. If you want to parlay that together with Rutgers minus 125, that should get you into the threes, ? But you can parlay that. If you want to take DraftKings, you certainly can, but FanDuel's better with straight lays as far as the numbers for UW. And however you feel on that is completely up to you. My last total that I do want to get into today is actually going to be one that really shouldn't shock that many people. I'm close with this one. I'm not certain. I'm closely watching Oregon State. Stay with me. I'm closely watching Oregon State for the reasons opposite of what I just said. Because if everything that I just said goes wrong, if there's an injury, if something happens, I think Oregon State's going to reap the benefits of that, win a game or two that they should not. And really, really surprise a lot of people here in the conference. You can mark the tape right now, 6:51 p.m. on August 10th, and come back to me whenever Oregon State's not bad. I'm not saying it's because DJU is about to be Archie Manning, but I like them, dude. I'm sorry. Uniforms are sick.
What's their number?
So the number for them actually changed within the last 24 hours. So let me make sure that it didn't change again. So just give me a second here. That is going to be – oh, my God, it did change again. Oh, my God. Am I about to do this? I'm certainly not about to do this live on the stream, right? Okay, it's still at 8. It's still at 8. It's 8.5 that I'm watching.
8.5, Trey.
8.5 is what I'm watching. All I need is –
they'll start 2-0. Yep. They'll lose 2 of those next 3 games. So let's call it 3-2. They'll probably beat Cal. I don't know where UCLA stands this year, but I'll give it a win at home. Arizona's a win. Colorado, who knows? Stanford, Washington, Oregon. I don't know, man.
They're not losing to Colorado.
Well,
they're not. I'm sorry. Coach Prime, you're my dog, bro. Look, if you ever want to bring me away from my sales position, you give me a call. No, not yet.
Well, you actually are going to get brought into my next point, which is I'm bringing up Colorado.
Oh my God!
And here's the thing, okay? I've heard the rumblings. I've heard the rumblings. I've been a big fan of their TikTok. They've been having some fun shenanigans in the locker room. They look like a good bunch of kids. I believe in Coach Dion. I do, man. Look, say what you will. He took, he recruited some talent to Jackson State, and he did the thing there, man. He was a top 2 team in that conference within 2 years. Do you know what the number is? Because that's where it gets me. Because I didn't know the number was where it was, and that's where it shocked me. That's when I was like, okay, maybe I need to look more into this.
It may be played down to 3 by now, but I'm pretty sure it was 3.5 when that line came out.
It's 3.5. It's
okay.
3.5,
okay.
And the over is plus money, man. And to me, TCU, they'll probably lose that game. Okay, sure. They'll probably beat Nebraska though. they'll definitely beat Colorado State.
Um,
But in the first 3 games, I believe or in the first 4 games, we'll start 2-2.
okay.
They'll lose to USC, okay, 2-3. Arizona State, who knows, man? I've got that as a win on my schedule. That's already at 3 wins. Stanford's dog shit. That could be a 4th win right there. Oregon State's one that was circled on mine. Arizona was circled on mine. Washington State. There's just so many winnable games on this schedule. I just don't see how they don't get to 4.
If I can play devil's advocate for a second, do you remember? And the easiest example are going to be the first 2 that I bring up. Do you remember the 2020 LSU Tigers or the last year Oklahoma Sooners?
Yeah.
Whenever the talent goes away.
What do you mean talent goes away?
When you lose talent to the NFL draft, to the Sunday game, when you lose that talent, it's extremely hard.
When the fuck has Colorado had talent?
Whatever talent they had went to the portal, and they brought some in. But Russo, they are turning over 90% of their scholarship players. I'm not telling you I don't believe in Dion, but brother, there's numbers to play here. So look, I'm not going to be shocked. I'll say that here. I'm not going to be shocked if they end up going over this win total, because Dion is the pinnacle reason of why I love college football, because of what he is doing. But protein shake. We've got to be realistic in that. You're telling me Arizona isn't good, and that's an absolutely unfair thing to say to them. But don't act like Colorado is the 96 Hurricanes, okay?
I'm not, but you made a point that Colorado had 90% of their talent left. That team didn't have any fucking talent last year. They didn't. I don't even know how many wins. Did they make a bowl game last year?
Can we? What? I was too distracted by the fact that I wrote down that you said that Colorado was beating Nebraska in week 2.
I mean, dude.
Let's bring that up. Let's make a friendly wager on that when the game comes, and we'll preface that here on the show on that week 2 of college football. We'll have a friendly wager on that.
Okay. All right. So I've got their schedule off from last year. Okay. You're talking about talent, right? All right. They lost to TCU 38-13. They lost to Air Force by 31. They lost to Minnesota by 42. They lost to UCLA by 3 touchdowns. They lost to Arizona by 3 touchdowns. They beat California barely. They lost to Oregon State by a lot. They lost to Arizona State barely. Got killed by Oregon. Got killed by USC. Got killed by Washington. Got killed by Utah. What fucking talent did they have? You're telling me that Dion's not bringing in kids that are better than what the fuck they put on the field last year?
Russo, they lost 71 players.
Who cares? They're all dog shit. Get the dog shit out. I'd rather 20 guys that are 4 to 5 stars than 70, 90 players that are dog shit. Get the toxicity out and let's go, Dion. Let's fucking go. We're loose.
I will not condone this behavior. They lost 71 players. All I'm telling you is to breathe. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just telling you.
I'm breathing. You're trying to convince me that they had talent and they didn't.
You may be breathing in like 91 octane, but you are breathing. I will say that. So I'm gonna tee this up for you because I know you've been wanting to talk about this. I'm teeing this up for you. I had this written down. We're talking about the sanctity of college football. We're talking about the talent. We're talking about all this. Okay. I had one of my only trusted, resourceful people that I know that like inherently watches Big Ten football more than me, more than you, more than anybody that we know. I mean, every down of every important game, who I will say is candidly a Penn State fan. Who is the top dog in the Big Ten, and how far away is Penn State from them? Go.
I mean, it's Michigan, right? I mean, I think Michigan's the top dog this year just because they had a solid team last year. We know who they're getting back this year. They're getting a lot of those players back. Yeah, Jimbo, whatever you want to call him, Jim Harbaugh is suspended for the first 4 games over some bullshit. But at the same time, I don't see this team not getting to the championship game. How far is Penn State away? I think Penn State can challenge Ohio State for that second place in that conference or in that division. Uh, we don't really know what Ohio State. There's a lot of question marks, right? I mean, how are you going to replace? How are you going to replace? CJ Stroud, some first round talent they lost, and the consistent receivers they've lost every year. They've got Marvin Harrison Jr., they've got a good little group behind them, but they strived because of CJ Stroud. Life after CJ Stroud is going to be tough for Ohio State. I don't care, how good their defense is. I just don't see them replacing that talent and, repeating that production in the next year or two. So Penn State could definitely be there. I just don't think it's their time this year. I can't speak for after this year. Shit happens. You never know. But at the same time, I've been wrong before. So I'll pull for Penn State to be that, to be there outside of my bets. But they could be the number 2. They could be Ohio State. They could hit their over, which I believe is 9 or 10.5. They could hit that. It's just I don't see them beating Michigan. I don't see there's any way Michigan doesn't make it to the championship game.
Okay, so would you agree that if Georgia slips up and Ohio State wins that game, that Ohio State wins the national championship last year?
I don't know.
They're beating TCU. I am just so sorry. They're beating TCU.
Yeah,
that is without a doubt they're beating TCU.
Oh, you're talking about Michigan?
No. I'm talking about Ohio State.
Ohio State. Okay.
If Ohio State wins that game, do they win the national championship?
Yeah. I think
we're in lockstep with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it plausible to think that Penn State could catch them at home, not make a mistake? They obviously
Michigan or Ohio State here.
We're talking about Penn State. Is it
catching who at home?
That Penn State catches somebody. I'm saying somebody at home, whether it's Penn State or whether it's Michigan, whatever. Can we agree that they could play the role of
spoiler?
Yeah, call it that.
Sure. I mean, they all 3 play each other. Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. Sure.
Yep.
I don't think there's going to be much parity outside of Michigan coming from that division this year. I think you'll see the parity maybe at 2-3. You might see Penn State make that leap, but I just don't see anyone beating Michigan. Not in that conference.
Keep these 2 names in your head for when the NFL draft comes back around. Nick Singleton, Jalen King. You can make a case that is the 2 best players on their team. Nick Singleton it could be the best running back in college football if he has the year that people think he's going to have. He's literally built like Saquon. I'm not telling you he's Saquon Barkley. Reel it in.
That's the Penn State running back, correct?
Correct. I
peeked his stats on DraftKings.
Unbelievable thighs, bro. Unbelievable width.
The Saquon build, man. The Saquon build is pretty damn dominant in college.
And Jalen King is their number 1 quarterback. He is their pterodactyl. He is their tarantula. He looks the part. I'm telling you, bro. Penn State is being slept on in the market. Vegas really hasn't caught up to this yet. I had this feeling a year ago with Tennessee. So did you. I'm telling you.
Yeah. And we are really good at our futures plays. So everything we've done so far is literally off of, little to no, practice, film watching or anything like that. Starting next week, we're going to get into our previews of the conferences now that we've got a couple weeks of practice under our belt. Yeah, I mean, we'll put a bow tie on this one, man. We just wanted to talk the state of college football and maybe give a little preview to what we like so far. And I'm telling you, man, do not forget to make these bets. We killed it in the futures last year, and we really didn't put enough recognition or emphasis on these picks because we were so invested in the single plays or the parlays we made during the week-to-week schedule that we forgot how damn good our futures were, and we were overlooking that. So I'm going to be more of a futures guy this year and just going to take a few flyers here and there on some parlays from the week to week. but the futures are where the money's at, especially if you can parlay division winners. On FanDuel, you can parlay up to 8 teams that can win 6 games. You know, they don't have every single team on there like Georgia, or you could break the system, but we will have some bets on FanDuel for teams that are on that 6 to 7 win border that we can parlay and get some good odds on. So that's it for me, man. Anything else from you, Coach?
No, man. There is a couple of really, really big key takeaways, and I think that one, it's college football games are always going to matter to the people that want to watch their teams, and it's always going to matter to the degenerates like us that are going to watch these games anyway. Obviously, they're doing a thing right now with the conference realignment, but the object is to not panic, to read the tea leaves, and to understand that this is happening for a reason. I'm not exactly sure how I feel yet about the ESPN bet thing. Conflict of interest.
We'll save that for next week. I've got a whole thing about that.
But we're going to get into that. But
scary shit.
But no, man, I'm completely fine with college football as it stands. I'm not so in love with the backlash that the kids get for the whole NIL thing. It's not really their fault that they're being born in the year to take advantage of it. But I love everything about this game. You know me, man. I eat, sleep, and breathe this. So we'll put a bow on this one, guys. I've had so much fun breaking this down, but there's more to come. Believe me, we're just getting started.
See us next Thursday, same time. Thursdays are our normal day. Friday, we just wanted to get some content out, and we wanted to get our schedules aligned for Thursday. So check us out Thursday at 6:30. We will break down the SEC, the Big Ten, and give our favorite bets that have come to fruition so far. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and that is it from your boys.